What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Now for today's video, I just wanted to go on a little bit of a rant about dice. Now if you want to turn this video into a drinking game, I'm going to be saying the word dice a lot in this video. So just a heads up, if you guys want to get pretty wasted, just take a shot every time I say the word dice. Now DICE used to be one of my favorite video game developers ever. Like if I heard DICE was involved with making a video game, I would instantly get excited because when it came to first-person shooters, I preferred DICE over pretty much everybody else. I loved Battlefield. When I first got introduced to the Battlefield franchise, I think Battlefield 4 was my first one, I just immediately fell in love with the game. I love the destruction, I love the maps, I love the weapon variety, I love the vehicle gameplay, I loved the game modes, I loved pretty much everything about it. Now, Battlefield 4 did have a rough launch and it was buggy and glitchy, but they eventually fixed the game because the main problem with Battlefield 4 was its bugs and glitches. It wasn't a lack of features and just a lack of listening to the community. It just had bugs and glitches, which, you know, they eventually fixed for the most part. And I fell in love with Battlefield 4, and then I went on and I played other Battlefield titles as well. Battlefield 1 ended up being my favorite Battlefield of all time. I love Battlefield 1. I didn't play Hardline because I skipped over Hardline. It just felt like a cash grab to me personally, so I just never played it. Then Battlefield 5 was, you know, hit and miss for me. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, I just thought it was okay. And then with Battlefield 2042, you know, we all know what's going on with 2042. But the point I'm trying to make is that I used to really respect and love DICE. Back 10 years ago, before Battlefront 2015 came out, me and my friends would just constantly daydream and talk to each other, you know, what if they make another Battlefront? Who would you want to make it? And we would always say DICE. We agreed that we wanted to see DICE make a Battlefield-style Battlefront game. And then when they eventually announced that EA was going to make a Star Wars Battlefront game in 2015, and they announced that DICE was going to be the developers, we were all super stoked. We were excited through the roof that our favorite video game franchise, Star Wars Battlefront, was coming back and it was being made by DICE. Now, Battlefront 2015 ended up not being like Battlefield almost at all. You know, I enjoyed Battlefront 2015. It was pretty controversial for a lot of people due to the lack of content and the lack of multiple eras. But overall, I enjoyed Battlefront 2015. And right around that time, I think DICE started to fall from grace, because with Star Wars Battlefront 2, we had the big controversy, we had loot boxes, we had an unfinished game, there was a lot of missing features, there wasn't that many heroes at launch, there was tons of game-breaking bugs and glitches. They had to completely remove Palpatine from Battlefront 2 at one point. There was the heavy glitch where people would spam explosive ammo on everybody and you'd be dying left and right, and there was just endless amounts of glitches with Battlefront 2 and scummy microtransaction practices. Battlefront 2's launch was just a not very good state. And ever since Battlefront 2, I've noticed that there is like this dedicated crowd of people that will defend DICE no matter what, and I don't understand why. Ever since I covered Battlefront 2 on the channel, I keep seeing the same defense over and over again. And now that I covered Battlefield 2042 on the channel, and I followed the game, and I followed the subreddit, and, you know, I'm keeping up with the community, I still see the same argument get brought up for 2042 all the time. And that argument is that DICE doesn't release games that work at launch. It's well known that DICE, you know, releases a game broken and they fix it later. And that is for some reason a defense that people use to defend DICE. And I've seen this over and over and over and over. It's like I see people say, you know, I want a refund for 2042. I feel like I got gypped out of my money. And then of course here comes the defenders and they're like, oh, why would you pre-order the game? Why would you spend money on this? Everybody knows that DICE games release broken and get fixed later. You know, how shitty does your company have to be that it's just considered the norm that your product releases broken and it gets fixed later? Imagine if that was any other company. I want to know why this is even a defense that people use for DICE products. Imagine if, I don't know, you bought an Apple Watch and you opened it up and then it had like half the missing features of the previous Apple Watch and it only worked like half the time. And then everyone was treating you like the bad guys, saying it's your fault because everybody knows that Apple Watches release broken and get fixed 2 years later. Like, do you see how stupid that is? I just don't understand why people defend DICE. It should not be considered normal in any industry, let alone the video game industry, that a company just time and time and time again releases a broken product to their consumers. Everyone buys it, and then they don't get their money's worth for like a year or 2 years later. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And DICE just keeps falling further and further and further from grace. It was to the point where, like I said, DICE was one of my favorite game developers out there, like ever. I loved DICE games. And now, after Battlefield 2042, after seeing how much the game has died off, the player base is absolutely abysmal now. I couldn't find matches a couple weeks ago. It is almost literally impossible for me to find a match of Battlefield 2042. I cannot do it. I have tried and tried and tried. I cannot find matches. I live on the East Coast, and I've tried at popular times during the day, like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. I've tried playing during the weekends. It will just search and search and search and then take me back to the menu. And I always see people defending it in the comments like, oh, I can find games. Well, good for you. Congratulations. I'm happy for you, I guess. I would say I'm jealous, but I'm ultimately not really that jealous because I look at it as, you know, the game is trying to save me from itself. It doesn't want me to play this shitty game. Now, when I hear DICE's name is involved with a product, I immediately am turned off from that product. If I hear DICE's name from this point forward, I know for a 100% fact that that game is probably doomed. DICE managed to somehow build up a amazing reputation, and they had such amazing games, and they built a community around their Battlefield franchise. And now it's gotten to the point where so many people are turned off from DICE. Like, I know going forward, I probably will never get another DICE game until I wait for reviews. Why on earth would gamers, after they've been gypped out of $60 so many times, continuously go back to a company like this? Like, this was the final straw for me. Once I saw that they didn't listen to their community and they stripped so many core features away from 2042 and they essentially killed off their entire game and their entire franchise, DICE isn't DICE anymore. And I'm tired of seeing people try to defend DICE when they don't deserve to be defended. Like, let's look at this image that I used for the thumbnail today. This image has been going all over Reddit. It's on the Battlefield 2042 Reddit. I think it's got close to 20,000 upvotes there. It's also on the R Gaming subreddit. It's just, you know, that subreddit that's dedicated to just video games in general. It's got close to 80,000 upvotes as of the last time I checked. 80,000 people on a just general gaming subreddit, not specific to Battlefield, all like this post. It says, in loving memory of Battlefield 2002 to 2021, ruined and desecrated by greed. You know, if close to 100,000 people upvoted this post saying that Battlefield's dead, you know you did something wrong with your Battlefield game. And it's not just that. Like, we're going into February and we don't even have any clue what they're doing with DLC for Battlefield 2042. Let's look at this tweet from Tom Henderson. It says, the industry standard for DLC after a game's release is 30 to 45 days. We're now 10 weeks, 70 plus days after launch, without even a tease at what the future holds for Battlefield 2042. Brutal expectations. And then we have this tweet from Westy. He says, at this stage of Battlefield 4's life cycle, the game already had received one DLC, China Rising, which included 4 maps and new weapons. The second DLC, Second Assault, was about to launch. Battlefield 2042 has had nothing, and we don't even know when the first content drop is happening. So those are 2 very good points. Other Battlefield games have already had DLCs with multiple maps and multiple sets of weapons and skins and outfits and all kinds of things by this point. And at this point in Battlefield 2042's life, we don't even have a roadmap. They haven't even talked about DLC. They haven't addressed the problems with the community. They've basically gone radio silent. A lot of people paid for a season pass. Like, they paid the full price for this game because they had that much faith in DICE. We all saw the trailers, we all got super excited, and we were all basically lied to and misled because so many people put their hard-earned money and trust into DICE and EA. And the fact that they haven't even announced DLC in February is so unbelievably pathetic. And based off of everything we've seen so far, I am more than willing to bet that we're only going to get one map, Like, why on earth would we get 4 maps like Battlefield 4? We're no longer in the prime of video games. We're in the age of microtransactions and nickeling and diming you for literally every little thing. My prediction is that we're only going to get 1 map. It's probably going to suck. And if we're lucky, we might get 2 to 4 weapons max. And then when the DLC hits, they're going to start rolling out microtransactions in the store. Why do I predict this? Because that's the worst case scenario that I can think of. 1 map, microtransactions, they're going to add a new specialist, and if we're lucky, we'll get a couple weapons. That is the worst case scenario I can think of, because that is something that nobody would want. That is what will officially kill off the game. That will be the official death for a lot of people, because a lot of people are waiting to find out what that first DLC is going to be. That's my prediction. You know, if they do anything other than that, I am going to be more than surprised. I'm going to be completely blown away. Battlefield is getting the Madden treatment at this point. I was talking about this with my friends. With Madden and FIFA, they have all these game modes and they have all this content, and then they remove it, and then the player base complains, and then in the next title or in a couple years down the road, they'll add that game mode back as a feature that you have to pay for. So, you know, for example, they'll take out the custom teams in Madden, and then in like 3 years later, they'll bring back custom teams and advertise it like it's a new feature or a returning feature to get everybody excited for. Like, that is the big thing for that year, is they added back custom, like, create a team. That's the same thing's happening to Battlefield. They take away scoreboards, they take away squad play, they take away destruction, they take away all this stuff. Everyone complains, and then in the next Battlefield game, they're going to advertise, oh, guess what's back? Scoreboard. So we have some destruction, and they're going to resell you all the features that was missing from this game, and essentially, you know, make double their money off of just screwing the players over. I'm beyond defending DICE at this point. Like, DICE is on my forever hated list now. Unless DICE does something to completely do a 180 at their company, if they pull a No Man's Sky and they listen to their community and they take their time and they really pump out tons of like free content without microtransactions, and if they get rid of a lot of the problems that people have with 2042 and they just make things from scratch instead of doubling down on their game, because if they do that, they're just wasting time and effort and money. The only way they can save 2042 is if they listen to the community. They're going to have to change specialists in some way, shape, or form, or get rid of them completely. Add classes, add destruction, add smaller maps, add cover to the maps. You know, there's a lot that DICE has to do, but I, for one, I've given up on DICE, and at this point, I kind of hope they fail just so that another company can replace them. Hopefully, another company like Respawn or somebody can take over the Battlefield franchise, because I'm tired of watching DICE destroy their own products at this point. And I'm pretty fed up with them. Yeah, you know, I just wanted to give a little rant. I just don't understand why so many people feel the need to defend DICE and say, the game's broken now, don't worry, it'll be fixed later. I'm just tired of seeing the excuses. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of DICE? What do you think of 2042? And that is going to do it for me, and I will talk to you all in the next video.